Well, it's called Paris, I Love You, But You're Bringing Me Down. The book is a memoir about the 18 months that my wife and I lived in Paris. Basically, I'd wanted to move abroad for a very long time, specifically France. And this opportunity fell on my lap where I got a job at an advertising agency, despite the fact I didn't really have any experience in advertising, and I spoke 8th grade to 10th grade quality French. So in spite of that, I got the job. And so it's about what it's like to move to France when you have ideas of what life in Paris should be like, and sort of just run, face first into contemporary Paris, 21st century life where the frozen food is excellent. And I don't know, the workplace, people are a little bit more lax about, let's say, interpersonal relations than you might find in an American office. So it was about, there's certain cliches that people in the States have about France. It was discovering some of those are true, some of them are not, but all kinds of interesting, sort of wild things I wouldn't have anticipated in the first place about what it's like to live in Paris right now. Have my coworkers read the book? Okay, some of my coworkers. I think this is part of what it's like to publish a memoir in the era of Facebook, because lots of my coworkers and I are friends on Facebook. Some of them only speak French and don't really speak English, and as of yet, there's not a French edition of the book. So I don't know, and I'm a little worried. But then I heard from a guy, in the book, his name is Keith, Scottish copywriter at the ad agency, and he contacted me and he said, all right, why in hell is my name Keith? And for legal reasons, for the publisher, I had to change names and some identifying characteristics of people. So I wrote him back this long, sort of friendly, endearing email. Keith, I'm so sorry. Look, I was trying to be so accurate. I kept all these notes. He wrote back to me and said, look, don't worry about that. If you wanted, you could have made the whole thing up. I don't care about that. It just happens that the last time I saw the name Keith in a novel or in a book was Martin Amos's The Information, and he's a serial killer. I don't know why I had to be associated with that. Otherwise, no. He's the only one I've heard from so far. Where did I write the book mostly? I wrote it entirely where we live now. My wife and I live outside of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. At the time when I was living in Paris, I was working on my novel, which is called You Lost Me There. And as an exercise, I would get up in the morning to work on my novel before going to the office, this ad agency in Paris. And I would look over my notes from the previous day. And the notes were just things that I was keeping track of, like, on my cell phone, sending myself text messages, or writing down on a computer, just observations I was making, or things that my coworkers would say that I would just note down because I thought they were interesting. And so the next day, before I'd get to working on the novel, I would try to turn that into something coherent. And so I had all this stuff about what it was like when I was living and working over there. Can move back to the States, the novel was published, and my book editor and my literary agent were saying, have you thought about turning this into something? So then it wasn't until I was back living, in the woods of Chatham County, North Carolina, that I started trying to reimagine what it was like to live there and transform it. I was listening to, what was I listening to? I was listening to a lot of LCD Soundsystem, but not while I was writing. If I listen to music while I'm writing, I get really sidetracked. I generally prefer to have silence. I'll wear headphones with no music in it just to have it be more quiet. Like, I have these really good ones that go, deep into my ear, like up to like some part of my eyeball is being poked by it. And I just need to have that. I was listening in Paris to a lot of LCD Soundsystem when I would go jogging on the weekends, just to sort of get stress out, exercise. And that's where the title of the book came from, because LCD Soundsystem has a song, wonderful song, called New York, I Love You, But You're Bringing Me Down. And so this is a riff. Paris, I Love You, But You're Bringing Me Down is a riff on that. I just did a reading in New York City 2 weeks ago at the KGB bar. Terrific event. And big audience, too. This woman came up to me, introduced herself. She said, hi, I'm Nancy. I said, hi, it's great to meet you. She said, oh, yeah, I'm actually in LCD Soundsystem. I was like, oh, my God. This is, one of my favorite bands. And LCD Soundsystem has 3 members, There's like James Murphy, the lead singer. There's Nancy, I think she plays keyboards. And then there's the Scandinavian drummer dude. So I was like, oh, wow, it's great to meet you. She said, yeah, I'm actually here collecting evidence for the publishing company's lawsuit against your editors. And it was 3 seconds before she's like, I'm just kidding. So that was a wonderful, terrifying moment. The title may sound a little cynical, but is a book that's a sort of a love letter to Paris. It is not one that is, aiming to sort of beat down on the terrific notions that we all have about Paris, or that Paris exists in the global imagination as this incredible romantic place. It is that. It's just, if you live there for 18 months and you work in an office 10 hours a day, you find out there's all this other stuff that's interesting and vibrant about the city that you can also experience as part of the bigger picture. So hopefully, if anyone's wary of it, that it sounds like a book about Paris that just is a downer, it's the opposite of that.